Hi, I'm Richard Dorfman. I'm running for an at-large position in the Sarasota Commission. I'm running because I have a passion for the city, because I want to serve, because this city is my adopted home, has been very good to me. I moved here in about 8 years ago, moved here permanently 4 years ago, and decided I saw things that needed some fixing, and I felt, instead of complaining about things, try to get out and do it. Again, something I felt passionate about. I feel I have the ability to serve, and I'm looking forward to helping the city.
Great, terrific. So we had the City Commission voted on the site plan for the proposed Walmart at Ringling Boulevard, excuse me. If you'd have been on the commission, how would you have voted, and why would you have voted that way?
I think I probably would have voted for the Walmart. I believe the case was proven by the Walmart's attorney that they dealt with the parameters that were put in front of them by city staff. I think they called it clear and substantiated proof of why they had the opportunity to be in the Walmart. Putting aside the benefits it would bring us, you know, the jobs, the increase to our tax base, the revenue that comes into the city. In my opinion, they had the right to build there, and they had the right to be there. So I would have to be supportive of them.
Okay. Any thoughts on what, if anything, should happen next? And that's an open-ended question. So.
Well, I guess in the best of all worlds, what I would like to see happen next is Walmart come back and work with whomever in the city and whomever in the neighborhood organizations and try to find a solution that, you know, that addresses the difficulties whomever was against them coming in for whatever reasons, and they try to remediate those problems. In the best of all worlds, that's what I would like to see happen. Because you know, the sense I get, I'm hoping that the opposition to the Walmart wasn't because it was a Walmart. I'm hoping the opposition was based on what they perceive to be valid reasons for it not coming to be. So if that is in fact the case, then I would like to see a solution found that can satisfy all parties.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
That area is, you know, certain to be fairly derelict. So if Walmart doesn't, you know, if Walmart walks away, I'm not sure. You know, I was trying to get a good answer from folks on, you know, what do you do? How do you get a business in there? I mean, Publix left that area. Now they moved around the corner, but how do you get somebody to put their money into reinvesting in that shopping center to make something work? I mean, I think Walmart thought that they had a formula. You know, what is there a formula that fits within whatever parameters that?
Well, you know, number one, you have to say, is the formula that fits those parameters going to be profitable to anybody who attempts or considers doing business there? Secondly, you have to say, one of the things that concerns me is Walmart has been scared away. You know, I think that will be a barrier to entry of a lot of people who might even consider that. You know, the biggest retailer in the world has been scared away. You know, we're not going to attempt to come here. And I think that's endemic of the problem we have in Sarasota. You know, this is known all over the area as a place where you cannot do business. Sarasota makes it incredibly difficult to do business here. So people are taking their business elsewhere, and this city suffers for it.
And this seemed to be kind of almost a rule on technicalities and whether Walmart walks away or doesn't. I mean, I think they have other options, and maybe they'll pursue that. But that was kind of the key point we talked about in editorials and others. But how do you fix that so you make it so that businesses know what the rules are? Versus, I think I know what the rules are, but now I'm going to have 20 groups, and the commission's going to be, you know, go back and forth and sway back and forth based on the way the winds are moving, rather than here's the hard, set, fast rules that we all operate under.
Well, that's exactly the point. our zoning rules are absolutely archaic. In many instances, you have clauses that conflict with each other. The only way we are able to establish an environment where people who want to come up here and develop or build or start a business is to provide them predictability. That if we do everything right according to the rules, we will be able to do what we've applied to do. And the only way to do that is to change our zoning. So our zoning, not change our zoning, but change our codes, so that, let's straighten it out, let's get it right, let's revisit the codes and bring them up to how it would apply in the modern age, not 30 or 40 or 50 years ago. Get it set in stone and say, these are the rules. If you follow the rules, you can proceed. You can't have an arbitrary interpretation of a rule. You can't say that, you can't allow somebody to do all the work, submit the site plan, and have somebody arbitrarily say, right here, we only like red doors. You're saying we're gonna have a blue door. I'm gonna let you do that. But what do you mean? You said we could have any color door. Well, that's not exactly right. All the rest of the neighborhood are blue doors. We want you to have blue doors. It's arbitrary. Get it in stone, memorialize it. This is what you work with. Boom, follow the rules, you come in.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about downtown, if you would.
Sure.
What steps, if any, do you think the city commission should take relative to downtown? I mean, you've heard it as much as anybody else. You got people saying, it needs to be more vibrant, quote unquote. So what approach would you take to downtown?
Well, I believe downtown can support more population than it currently has. Certainly infrastructure-wise, we can support it. Our sewer and water are working about 50% of their capacity. I would like to see, where appropriate, we have more density downtown. We're allowed to build more units. Personally, I advocate, let's build more rental units that we can rent out to a younger group of people, young professionals, people just starting out in life, in the first or second rung of their business career, new families. Let's create rental housing so those people can hopefully live, work, and play downtown and keep feeding into our economy. With the density we have right now, and Jesse Biter has written about it, if you want to put a new building up on Main Street, you want to put it up at any of the downtown zoning, because of the amount of units per acre we have, you've got to build really, really big condos. You've got to put 3,000 square foot condos. I don't think we're at any shortage of luxury type condos. We've got plenty of them. What we don't have are 750 or 500 square foot or 1,000 square foot rental properties. And in order to make those numbers work and to build that type of unit, you have to increase the density. You have to be allowed to build whatever it is, 75 units per acre. I don't know what the formula is, but you've got to be able to go up, and you've got to be able to build more units per building. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to bring in the type of properties that are affordable to people who, don't want to buy luxury condos.
So if you have, for instance, if say the comp plan and I assume the zoning code say you have, right to build a certain number of units per acre, how does the city then ensure, if you wanted to ensure, how do you ensure that that you get that variety of size and that they remain rental? I mean, some of the projects, on the trail, I think maybe where you live were once going to be rentals, and they were built bigger, they went condo.
Right.
Do you have any ideas on how you make those assurances that you get the product that you?
Well, I actually have lots of ideas about that, to be honest. First of all, if you are going to give somebody whatever kind of, be it an easement or a zoning change or whatever, I'm of the mind, 25 years as a professional negotiator, that's what I did. I'm going to give you, you got to give back. So if I'm going to give you more density, if it's not memorialized in zoning, but you have to seek this. If I'm going to give you more density, then you have to promise me you are going to let this piece of property exist as you promised, you know, when you built it. It will exist. What that term is, I do not know. The other thing I would like to see happen, again, and this is for any new development around the city, regardless of where it is, again, if we do something for you, if we give you an easement, we give you whatever, you have to do something for us. And I think that's the way, instead of just having buildings, we'll say, all right, we're going to let you put up this building, but you have to do something for the community. Put in a public park on a piece of that property. You know, do something that is for the community, not just the building. And I think it's, you know, we're going to give you something, you give us something back. That's the way the deal is going to work. It's done in New York all the time, in Manhattan. That's why you see so many, you know, in the lobbies of their big buildings, you see public gardens, you see public fountains, you see eating areas and stuff that are open to the public. You know, it is stipulated, this is what you do. You have to create some public space.
Okay. Does that happen at the staff level, at the commission level? Where does that negotiation occur? I've never been able to figure it out.
To be honest, I couldn't figure it out either. I don't know how we would implement it. I guess if it becomes a policy, you start it out in the planning stage. You know, if this is the policy, and you know, first of all, it's going to be a one-on-one thing because they are going to have to apply that way. How we get that negotiation going and with whom, you know, we would have to work on it. Does it start with the planning board? Is there instructions with the planning board saying, you know, you recommend, but along with these stipulations, it's got to go to the commission in the first place. If the commission is in a position to mitigate and allow, you know, different zoning decisions, which they are, then let the commission say, all right, this is great. You know, Mr. Developer, Mr. Builder is there, but would it be possible to do this? I would rather have it start out in the planning stage, in the site plan approval stage. And maybe that's part of the permitting department, I don't know. Here, if we let you do this, this is kind of what you have to give back. If you're going to get this, you have to spend X amount as we go forward into the planning stage. I haven't figured that one out, but.
Okay. Good.
How about the downtown, the noise ordinance issue? I mean, you know, I don't know when that will be resolved or if it will be resolved before a new commission takes place, but, you know, what are your thoughts on that? What should happen, you know, to either change or not change what's going on right now?
Yeah, I don't call it a noise ordinance, I call it a music ordinance. It's just point of order in my mind. Look, we're looking for 7 additional hours. We're looking for an additional hour, 5 hours during the week, 2 hours on the weekend, you know, an extension. I don't think, given what this city is all about and where we are as a city, that is really going to affect anybody. The possible benefit, I think, outweighs if we have an extra hour where we can keep people downtown, spending money, again, feeding into the economy of the city as opposed to getting into their cars, driving someplace else. You know, we live in a city after all. We still live in a city. True, our demographics may skew somewhat old, but we still live in a city. And you know, if we can bring more young people in, you know, it's a good thing. But I just feel for the economy, and we have so many entertainment establishments here. Cut them a little slack. Give us another hour. I don't think it will impact very much at all. But you know, I guess the other part of the equation is, let's make sure that it's monitored. You know, let's make it cuts off at the time it's going to cut off, which I don't think is a big problem. But let's make sure that noise element is monitored for the decibel level that you know, we have agreed to. And let's again change our rules of measurement. If there are complaints about decibel levels, let's figure out you know, how do we measure the decibel level? From the place of the complaint, or do we measure it from the place of origination? You know, again, we need very clear guidelines to deal with this.
Okay. Homelessness, obviously a huge issue in the city. What steps, if any, would you like to see the city take?
I mean, I'm sure we've answered this question so many times, and we've all come up with pretty much the same answer, so this is going to be terribly surprising. You know, what I would like to see, again, is an integrated solution that allows for the city, the state, the county, and most importantly, the nonprofits to get involved with finding a solution. I don't think the city has the wherewithal, both financially or in terms of knowledge, how to deal with it on their own. I think there's just got to be a way to bring in, you know, this sort of vertically integrated approach to solve the problem. People have got to come together. We've got to get these organizations together. You know, Manatee has managed to do it with the one-stop center that they have there. It doesn't address the issue of where people are going to sleep, but it does address, you know, certain medical facilities are there, certain, you know, showers, laundry, it's there. And it also offers, you know, not the counseling, but at least the direction for people who are having difficulties. It says these are the areas where you can be helped. If it's a vet that has suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome and he's been wandering the streets around, he doesn't know how to find a solution. Here, this is a person at the VA who can help you with it. I am calling him for you, and you have an appointment at 2 o'clock. You know, same thing with mental health issues, same thing with addiction issues, et cetera, et cetera. We've got to put this group together, and they've got to embrace it. They've got to take ownership of it. The city isn't going to solve it on its own.
Okay. Where are you on the social work, putting social worker for the police, and the community foundation was going to step up and fund some of it? There's still a little bit of a gap that the city may fund or may not fund. Where are you on the
case workers? Case workers, yeah. Look, in the absence of doing nothing, you know, I'm hoping it will help. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you fund caseworkers without a bigger plan, how those caseworkers are going to interact, and giving them the tools of who to interact with, and giving them the backup that, you know, what are they going to do? You know, you've got caseworkers walking around the street with a clipboard saying, "Oh, you've got an addiction issue. Call this person." I don't know how it's going to work. Mm-hmm. I say if you're going to put caseworkers in there, make sure there is a solution behind the caseworkers, and make sure there is a plan behind the caseworkers. Yeah, I don't see how it works in isolation. Mm-hmm. No, I don't see how it gets us any further down the road.
Okay. Would you support if a group or individuals came to the commission and wanted to have another referendum on directly elected mayor conducted? Would you, one, support conducting the referendum, and two, what's your thoughts on the subject in general?
I would support it. I supported it in the past. I think an elected mayor and 5 single district commissioners, along with a city manager, is what the city needs. I think we are having a terrible time trying to build consensus in the commission. We sort of dilly-dally back and forth with decisions. I think a lot of the decisions are politically motivated. I think the Walmart decision was 100% politically motivated. You know, we are not moving forward as a city. I come from the business world. Nothing ever gets done by committee. You don't get things done. Have a CEO in place, let him be elected because the people believe his ideas to move the city forward are appropriate for us. He is elected. Have 5 single district commissioners feeding in to the CEO. They are the board of directors. You don't have at large anymore. You've got people who are actually in situ with the people that they are ostensibly going to represent. Let them feed in the information to the mayor as to what is going on in these districts, what are the complaints, what are the good things, what needs to be done, blah, 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 you pick it. Let the mayor say, these are the resources that are available to solve this problem, or take care of this, or put up a garage, whatever. Let the mayor be the driving force. Let him do his job unencumbered, and let the city manager be his arms and legs to implement. The other thing I would stress with that, let's also maintain some checks and balances on the thing. If the mayor is running away, with something that the commission doesn't feel is the right decision, let a supermajority of the commissioners vote it down. Let's give them some veto power. I think our commission is moribund. I really do. I think for us to be a successful and vital city, we've got to have one person steering the ship and moving it forward. One person will not be subject to the type of special interest pressure that we're seeing right now. You know, and that special interest pressure translates into political pressure. Let him be elected by the people because they think he's the best guy to do the job, and let him do the job.
Looking at the city budget, it seems that the biggest problem out there is unfunded pension. Do you have any ideas or thoughts on that, or what can be done, or are there any other areas of the city budget you think that need to be addressed, reduced, changed, increased?
It is a problem. I think we have to address the problem in terms of the new negotiation with the police department. I believe there is an acceptance on the part of the police department and the PBA that some things need to be tweaked. I believe they will listen to reason. I think the year and a half of intransigence that they had between the city and the PBA did no good for anybody. I think there are areas to tweak. I also think when you're dealing with, you've got vested officers and unvested officers, I think you have to really look at reconfiguring the type of plan you offer to unvested officers and you offer to new officers. I think the plan still has to be pretty good, otherwise you're not going to get officers to come here. It is part of an overall package that allows us to attract good officers. So it's sort of a combination of two things. Let's re-look at how we treat those who are not entitled to the program we have now, and let's tweak some areas in the program we have now. Specifically, I can't tell you because I haven't been involved in negotiations. But again, I was endorsed by the PBA. We've had these discussions, so I know there is some degree of flexibility in terms of speaking and trying to get this thing done. I just don't think it was handled particularly well the last time by both parties, and I think admittedly by both parties.
Should it go to a defined contribution plan for new employees? Or?
I think you're going to have a hard time having new officers swallow that. Mm-hmm. If you have to compete for officers, and remember, over the next few years, 5 or 7 years, I think half of our officers are going to be retiring. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I think that's the figure I'd heard. So you have to be able to attract new officers. They're going to have a choice of where they want to work. Certain things would draw people here naturally. Our environment is going to draw people here naturally. But after that, at the end of the day, it's how do I support my family and how do I, plan for their future. So, it is a conundrum. You've got to figure out the way to do it. I don't think the defined benefit is the way to do it. Personal.
Or defined contribution.
Defined contribution, sorry.
Okay. All right. Last thing on the agenda. You get a kind of a 1-minute summation here. Anything we didn't cover, or
when you make it a little longer too, just kind of what you think. I'd put it this: what do you think the top priorities are, or your top priorities, and what you want to do, and why you should be elected versus the other candidates that are out there?
Well, every time I speak, there's always an underlying theme of the things I believe in, and I believe that the city has to keep growing to stay vital. I don't think we can sit there and rest. We have to stay growing. We have to revitalize the North Trail. That was the one thing that I ran on in District 1 2 years ago, and it's still right there at the top of my platform. We've got to revitalize the North Trail. We've got to have growth in areas where we can actually handle growth. North Trail, Rosemary District, areas on 301. So if you believe that the #1 priority is to get our fiscal house in order, and if you believe that the way to get our fiscal house in order is to try to encourage people to invest in our city as opposed to continually raising our taxes, if you believe growth should come from the outside and it should be commercial, then you have to say who on this commission is most qualified to be able to work in those areas. I've got 25, 30 years of business experience. Part of that is business development. It's going out and getting business and bringing it in. I've got 25 years of negotiating experience. You're going to need that to get 3 votes on the commission, whomever is sitting there. You've got to find a way to bring people into the middle. And as we go through this process of zoning change, that is going to be a negotiation. So who, the candidates before you, who has the most world experience, who has the skill levels that you think are going to be necessary to best address the challenges of the city in the future? I happen to believe I have those skill levels, and that's why I'm running for city commissioner, and that's why I think you should vote for me.